Welcome in to News and Views with Tom Lamprecht. The stories you've heard and the ones you need to hear.
Believe in America with all your heart and soul.
Colin Powell dedicated his extraordinary life to public service because he never stopped believing in America.
Inflation is elevated.
Increase in prices over the past year.
Continued shortages, price hikes are ahead.
The COVID-19 pandemic.
Seeing now a decrease in the percentage of positive tests.
So that you can get the facts.
Your life, your values, your voice. This is News and Views with Tom Lamprecht on Talk 96.3 and 103.7.
All right, welcome in. It is a new week of News and Views. Lots to talk about. General Colin Powell, of course you've heard by now, passed away, 84 years old. You know, and by the way, it was COVID-related. He was fully vaccinated. He did have some underlying issues. He had Parkinson's. He had multiple myeloma. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah.
Myeloma, I guess is how it's pronounced. Which, I mean, I don't. Is there a cure for that even? I mean, he would have eventually died from that, I would imagine. But
and he was 84.
Yeah, yeah, he's older, although 84, sounding younger all the time to some of us. But you know what? The first thing out of the mouth of the Biden administration and their medical experts, well, this underscores the need for COVID-19 vaccine booster shots. Would that be the first thing you'd say? I mean, it seems to me that you might have a narrative somewhere along the lines of, even though this guy was fully vaccinated, please be aware that while we recommend, and look, you use your common sense. I said this all along. I'm not knocking the vaccine, but I'm knocking the fact that we continue to hear nothing about natural immunity from the Biden administration, and we continue to hear the Biden administration say, get the vaccine so you don't die of COVID.
And coming out of the same group that said, what, June, July, if you get vaccinated, you don't have to wear a mask.
Yeah.
I mean, they were even going a step further. So,
you know, I was disappointed when Colin Powell basically went against Donald Trump. That was disappointing to me. But the guy served his country well. You know, a lot of respect for Colin Powell.
Yeah, Colin Powell, I mean, he really felt like he was lied to in the weapons of mass destruction when he went before the United Nations and all that. So, you know, the intelligence was out there even in foreign countries. So it might have been wrong intelligence.
Yeah.
I'll let you know what I'm reading a book right now. Just started it called The Generals, and it goes through all the major generals, starting with Marshall to today. And there's a chapter on there on Colin Powell. I might have to cheat and go forward and see what
he says.
See what it says.
I laughed when I saw this headline. Fox News: Pete Buttigieg under fire for claiming supply chain crisis due to Biden guiding country out of recession. President has successfully guided this economy out of the teeth of a terrifying recession. In fact, the economy is so good that that's what is disturbing the supply chain.
Yeah, that's rich. Biden's got to be guided out of the White House restroom himself. Good grief. Where's Pete been? He's been on maternity leave, right?
Yeah.
6 weeks or so, didn't he? He was out for 6 weeks.
Did they adopt twins, I think? And
I don't know, but
yeah. Which one had the baby? Anyway, demand is up, Buttigieg said, because income is up because the president has successfully guided this economy out of the teeth of a terrifying recession. Last time I checked, prior to COVID, Donald Trump had us on the right track, and I don't think we're on the right track now, Pete. And the American people don't either, by the way, which might be why David Price. Now, David Price is 81 years old, and most people, when they turn 81, are thinking about, except for politicians in Washington, most people at 81 are thinking about retiring. David Price has announced he is no longer going to serve in the U.S. Congress after this next current session is over. And you do have to wonder. I mean, on one hand, he's been up there for 30 years. He should have been gone a long time ago. If I had my way, we'd have term limits and have been gone a long time ago. And granted, he's 81, but you do wonder, are these terrible polling numbers that the Dems are seeing across the board, is it probably a good time to call it quits? You know, instead of getting beat, let's just go ahead and sign out. Wake County State Senator Wiley Nickel will, he's already announced. So David announces today he's not running again. Wiley Nickel's, I'm running. So now perhaps he's already been in conversation with Price before he announced today. But anyway, he lives in Cary, father of 2 young children, and he is a lib.
And his, prior to 30 years, he was a political science professor.
David Price was.
David Price, yeah.
Nickel, the new liberal, the young liberal, he worked for Al Gore from 96 to 2001. He was a member of Al Gore's Climate Reality Leadership Corps. Isn't that an oxymoron? Climate Reality Leadership Corps?
Anything Al Gore and reality is
an oxymoron.
Yes.
Nickel later worked for Obama, his presidential campaign. He served on the White House National Advance Staff from 08 to 012. Wiley's a member of the Obama Alumni Association, was a part of Obama's first wave of political endorsements in 2018. Obama endorsed 6 candidates in North Carolina, including Nickel, in August of 2018. So there you have it. You lose an old, codger, liberal, yellow dog Democrat, and you gain a young, codger, progressive, woke, whatever.
And I mean, I'm not currently not voting for any Democrats because I don't think the Democrats is a real party any longer. But here you go, another case of someone. His entire life has been about politics. Yep. And I don't even know Representative Price is retiring, but he was a political science professor that's been in Washington
30 years.
30 plus years. Yeah. And prior to that, he taught political science in a classroom. Yep. We just have too many people in office like that.
And the problem is, and so many of these people, either they've been in politics all their lives, which means they've been getting a government check all their lives, or they've been working for another part of government, and then they have an early retirement, and they've got their pension, and they go ahead and run. The business people are out there trying to keep their business afloat, while they have to deal with all the regulations and taxes that these non-business people just glibly continue to increase, whether it be taxes or whether it be regulations. And they do it all in the name of, we're helping the little guy. We're going to help the little guy.
Or in the name of public service.
I'm a public servant.
Yeah, that really makes me. But, I mean, here again, work for political campaigns and go from appointment to elections, and it's just, I don't know, it's too many people like that. Was it last week? Beverly Perdue got some kind of appointment for something. I don't even remember what it was. But
it's sort of like a lousy football coach. No matter how bad your record is, you end up with making a large 6-figure salary somewhere else as a assistant coach somewhere.
Well, I got to say, if I was advising a young person, go into college football coaching, and your goal is to get a good job and see how quickly you can get fired.
Yeah. It's good. You might even get 2 salaries. I mean, Coach Mo, he left here, went up as the offensive coordinator at Maryland, lasted up there maybe 2 seasons. Now he's, I think he's a quarterbacks coach up in Indianapolis. So somehow they continue to land on the
just
feet.
Announced, yesterday, I think, the LSU coach had just signed a big fat contract.
Right.
Winning the national championship, a year and a half ago.
Yeah. What have you done for me lately?
Well, yeah, he's going to be fired at the end of the season, and he's going to get, I think they said $16 million payable over 4 years.
Wow.
That's good work if you can get it.
Yeah. I've never gotten that kind of stuff. Now, granted, I've only been, and I'm trying to think, I think I've only been fired once in my life. My severance wasn't quite that good.
My dad fired me one time, but it didn't last very long.
Well, you didn't get any severance from that. You probably got a whooping. Here's your severance. Whack.
He just fired me from one job and gave me a harder one.
Here's the really important news of the day, though. Betty Lynn, the actress forever known as Thelma Lou from the Andy Griffith Show, passed away on Saturday, 95. Now, had you shown me her pictures of what has she been in over the years, Andy Griffith, as far as I know, is the only.
I don't know if anything else. She probably, I don't know. I know the dollar amounts are so different now than what they used to be. But I would expect as many times as those shows have been.
I don't think anybody but Andy got residuals.
Oh, really? Okay.
Now today, if you're a modern day TV sitcom, I think everybody gets a residual, like reruns of Everybody Loves Raymond or something like that. I think everybody in the cast is getting a little something. But back then, I think it was only Andy that got residuals. But interestingly, she actually, I was reading a bio, she actually acted in a bunch of movies with William Holden, Bette Davis. And I don't remember this, but apparently the first year of Matlock, she was Andy Griffith's secretary.
Okay.
And
didn't know that. She lived in Mount Airy, right?
She did. She moved. She visited Mount Airy on a one of the Mayberry Days festivals and liked it so much she stayed. And I think she moved out there 2007. She moved out there.
Over the years, I've heard people that met her and said that she was really genuinely a nice person, as opposed to Aunt B was not a very nice person in real life. Heard the same thing about Andy, but
yeah, I've heard stories about Andy sort of turned into a curmudgeon, ornery curmudgeon.
Get off my lawn, type of guy.
The third quarter fundraising numbers for the U.S. Senate race in North Carolina, which, you think of that as being so far away, the primary is next March. So that's not far.
March 2022.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So we're talking about 5 months from now.
Yes, they better be spending money. I guess the ad campaigns are.
Well, right now they're collecting money, but they're going to be spending it soon. I mean, come probably post-holidays. They don't want to spend it going into the holidays so much because they're going to get lost in all the confusion. But as soon as the holidays are over, you're going to see a lot of money spent on these primaries, and I'm sure I'm sure Ted Budd and Pat McCrory will be spending a lot of money on with Henry Hinton. He'll be happy about that.
A new car time.
Yeah. McCrory announced that his campaign will report raising more than $1 million in the third quarter. This is the second quarter in a row McCrory has broken the $1 million mark. Ted Budd raised a nearly identical amount, with McCrory slightly ahead. Budd's total included a $25,000 loan he made to his campaign. Now, I mean, if he's raising $1 million a quarter, approximately $25,000 is small potatoes. Mark Walker, pretty far behind. I really think Mark ought to focus on running for Ted Budd's House seat. I think he could win it. And I think everybody would be happy. But, I'd love to see him up in Washington, D.C. I like Mark Walker, but, I said early on that it's going to be a Ted Budd, Pat McCrory race. Mark Walker only raised $122,000. I mean, by the way, he can transfer that to a House campaign with no problem.
Of course, will that district survive? We'll have redistricting here pretty soon.
Too.
So
that's true, too. On the Democratic side, Jeff Jackson, state senator, announced $900,000 in fundraising, with a 1.5 in cumulative fundraising. Sherry Beasley has now almost caught up to Jackson, despite her opponent enjoying a quarter head start. So they're basically the four candidates: Jeff Jackson and Beasley on the Democratic side, and McCrory and Ted Budd on the Republican side, are all basically playing with the same amount of monies. $2 million on the Republican side, about $1.5 million on the Democrat side.
So what's your thoughts on the Democrat side on that primary?
I think Sherry Beasley will win it.
Yeah. I think there will be dramatic money that will just start rolling in pretty soon for her, I think. She checks a box that the Democrats want to check.
Exactly.
She's a black female. I mean, let's just face it, it checks a box.
Yeah.
2 boxes for him.
Yeah, and he's a white male, and he gets 2 minus marks, she gets 2 plus marks.
He's 2021's version of Cal Cunningham.
Yeah.
Maybe hadn't been as promiscuous.
Well, Cal went down in flames. We'll see. I think Beasley will end up winning.
I just think he just kind of looks like Cal Cunningham. He has the same look, kind of similar resume. I'm not saying he's done anything wrong, but
I would say this though. On the Republican side, I think it's somewhat of a toss-up. I think if Mark Walker were to get out of the race and endorse one of the two candidates, and I think he would probably endorse Bud, I think I'd have to give the upper hand to Ted Budd in that race.
Over Governor McCory?
Over McCory, yeah.
I guess it depends on really.
But I'm not being dogmatic about that.
Yeah, I'm still not so sure. Depends on really. I know he's got Trump's endorsement, but how much more will Trump do? I think that will be the key to that race if he has any chance. I mean, I still talk to just everyone I talk to. Who was Ted Budd? I mean, they really. Yeah. He's got a lot of work to do. And he might have the money to do it here pretty soon, but he's got a lot of work to do.
We'll see. We got to take a time out. Lots more to talk about, including a situation with a school board funding. I call it a controversy. The only thing controversial is this judge who is basically telling the state legislature what they must do. Where do these authoritarians get off telling everybody when to get up, when to go down, when to sleep, when to eat, when to do everything? We'll talk about that and more. News and Views continues right after this.
And we're on location at one of my favorite places in the whole planet because this is some of the best food you're ever going to eat in your life. We are at Nino's on Red Banks Road in Greenville. It's one of my hangouts. It's one of the places that I love. I got my friend Pietro Pasalacqua. How'd I do?
You did great.
Let's talk about the food. What makes this place? I know it's special Italian from authentic Italians, but tell us why it's so special.
Because everything we do, it's really what we came up on the menu from what we did at home, from my grandparents, my parents. So it's exactly what we eat at home, and that's the way we cook. That's why it's special.
And the atmosphere in this place is special also. From the bar to the two dining areas. You got two different dining areas, and now the weather's nice, so there's going to be a lot of folks that want to eat outside.
Yeah, we have two rooms. One room is designed a little different. We're also working on the patio to make it more attractive and more useful in the summer with a cocktail service. And we're always improving our services.
And, of course, my friends here, my buddy, Chef Massimo, who I love, and Sal and Pietro, you guys do a great job here. Not just Italian, but I had a great pork chop here the other night. You got great steaks, too.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we're also adding filet mignon in the future on our menu. And Massimo is coming out with a really good side dishes for it. And so we're really excited to come out with new meats and fish dishes.
All right, Nino's on Red Banks Road in Greenville. Same people that give you Marabello's and the great pizza that you get at Marabello's, but this is fine dining at Nino's. If you haven't been here, you don't know what you're missing. Come see them at Nino's on Red Banks Road. And Pietro, what is that famous saying about Nino's?
The food that you enjoy with people that you love.
Hi, I'm Richard Langley, and after helping my grandmother with an iPad she received as a gift, I realized how many other older adults may also have challenges with their own technology.
Happy Grandma specializes in helping with any tech issue you may be experiencing. Whether it's setting up a new computer or TV, having issues with the printer or Wi-Fi, or showing you how to use your tech, we want to help you. To make it easier, we come directly to you with a smile on our face.
When tech gets tough.
When tech gets tough.
When tech gets tough.
When tech gets tough, get happy.
Happy Grandma Senior Tech Support.
Living easy is the sound of children laughing as you make memories with neighbors and friends. It's the sound of nothing at all. It's the smell of the salt air. Hear the waters against the marsh grass. See the beauty of our coast. Bow Coast, located in Beaufort, North Carolina. Southern Living's best small town.
If you're vaccinated,
you must wear a mask.
Why?
We need to get people vaccinated.
Telling people who are vaccinated to wear a mask doesn't get more people vaccinated.
Confusing the kids and the parents even more. Get the facts.
Get the correct information.
Eastern Carolina's news source is News and Views on Talk 96.3 and 103.7.
Welcome back in. Taking a look at your weather forecast. It is going to be clear and crisp tonight, a low around 43. The week overall, though, looks really good. Highs each day will be in the mid to upper 70s. Lows each night will be mid 40s to low 50s. Lots of clear skies, though. So,
boy, we go from summer to fall in a few hours.
Yeah,
I mean, it was
it's
hot
true.
as blazes on Saturday. I worked outside a lot, and it was just like I think 88 or 89 one time I checked the thermometer.
Yeah, it dropped. It probably about 30 degrees over 6 hours. And, yeah, I was up at my grandson's baseball. Both my grandsons were in baseball tournaments up in the Rocky Mount this weekend. And Saturday it went probably about 5 o'clock, sunshine and really warm, sitting in the sun. And they had like 3 locations that they were playing games at. I mean, it's a huge tournament up there. And so we went to another location to watch another grandson. By the time that game started, the rain was coming down, and it had dropped a good 20 degrees. I mean, it went from we're really hot to we're really cold. But a fun weekend, though. Fun weekend. So
they play well.
They did. They didn't. They didn't. They were over 500, but the competition was good. And my younger grandson had a heartbreak of a game with his team. Their last game, they thought they were coming back big time, but they ended up losing 12-11. When you're 9 years old, usually you're scoring a lot of runs because usually your pitching is average at best, and there's a lot of walks. And
the good news is, if the ice cream was good later, they forgot about it.
Well,
at that
the
age.
resiliency of a 9-year-old is unbelievable.
What game?
Exactly. No, they were in tears when they lost, and a half hour later, they're at McDonald's and all smiles. The space alien from Chicago, Lori, the space alien Lightfoot, she.
Beetlejuice.
I don't know if it's Beetlejuice or if Beetlejuice is a pretty good description, but she also could. I mean, they could have just blended her right in the Star Wars bar scene, no makeup. She would have fit right in. She showed up at the finals of the WNBA in Chicago. Chicago won that game over the Phoenix Mercury. Everybody else in the place had a mask on. Literally, if you go Google it, you can see photos of it. Tens of thousands of people, everybody with a face mask, except for Lori Lightfoot, and she was the one that put the edict out there. You got to have a mask on.
Yeah, I saw that. She kind of looked like a sloth up in the crowd. What those little animals called a sloth. I mean,
we are catty. But the Democrats, they hand it to you in a platter.
Yeah, she's an easy target, I hate to say.
And Joe and Jill, over the weekend, were at a restaurant in D.C. They were violating the mask ordinance.
Well, time and time again, the Democrats,
what we say, not what we do.
Yeah, I mean, the governor, basically, you could say that probably caused the recall in California with Newsom. Yeah. And you see it all over. I mean, just about every mayor. I mean, it was Mayor D.C. did the same thing where she was at a bar and listening to a band or something. But
what's her name up in Michigan? Her husband was out there.
Mm-hmm.
Let me get my boat out of the.
I got a friend that's got a nickname for her, but I can't say it on the air. But it's very fitting.
Probably a little bit more risque than Lori the alien Lightfoot. Now I don't want to strain myself by patting myself on the back too hard, but I did say at the beginning of the football season that nothing is going to happen.
You sure did. Yeah.
With tens of thousands of people packed into the stadium, and Fauci coming out and said they're going to have a super spreader, and I said, nah, I don't think so. I said, you watch. Let's see. But I said, I don't think so. NBC over the weekend acknowledged that the super spreader never happened. In fact, the biggest football states perhaps in the nation, there's Lori, if you're looking on Cable 7 or Facebook. There's this space alien. The biggest football states in the nation, COVID is going in the opposite direction. Is it herd immunity? I don't know, but 35% decline in Georgia, 32% decline in South Carolina, 30% decline in Mississippi, 22% decline in Arkansas, 23% in Alabama, 9% in Texas. It's going in the right direction. And the only reason Texas isn't further down.
Speaking of Lori Lightfoot, I told you she looks like a sloth. Am I not right on that one?
Yeah, you are. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Our audience can't see this, but Benny just brought up a picture of a three-toed sloth, and yeah, it is pretty similar to Lori Lightfoot. Anyway, getting back to Fauci, your prediction of a super spreader gone down the proverbial drain.
Well, I think everyone in America, and you're looking at, schools in the Northeast and the South and out West. I've seen half a dozen ball games now, and it's been pretty apparent that all over the country they like to cheer "Let's Go Brandon" at the football games.
Yeah. NASCAR is just taken off incredibly. Yeah, there's Lori.
Striking resemblance.
We're going to have more people because of our producer, Clark Willis, who is always on the ball. We're going to have more and more people watching on Facebook and listening on Cable 7 because of the photos that Clark puts up on the screen. We're going to get. This is a radio program. You gotta quit distracting me on these photos. The North Carolina, the General Assembly has been told that they need to make sure that we follow our state constitution. And our state constitution guarantees a proper education for all the children in the state. Now, obviously, parents can make other choices if they want to go to private school and they want to homeschool. But a North Carolina judge is giving state lawmakers 3 more weeks to put billions of more dollars into funding into public schools before he, quote, potentially orders them to do so. Now, what's interesting about this is that Phil Berger has called Lee unhinged. Now, he called him unhinged because when they were discussing how they might fund education, the judge and attorneys that represent people that want more funding for schools. And look, this guy is just a prop for progressives and for Roy Cooper. The guy's name is State Superior Court Judge David Lee. Phil Berger said he's unhinged because he started talking about a situation in Kansas where a judge ordered the state's public schools to be closed until funding was increased, and at least, we don't want to go there. But Phil Berger said this guy's unhinged. But
is he an appointed judge?
He was appointed for this case. Well, I didn't for the state. I assume he was elected, but you might want to double check on that. But again, Phil Berger makes the point, and we talked about this probably a month ago, that listen, you've got branches of government, and somebody in the judicial branch does not have the right to come in and order the state to increase funding for education. And by the way, Phil Berger, through press releases today, and this whole thing comes out of the case called the Leandro case, which was initially filed in 1994 by a low-wealth school district wanting to get more state funding. The case was named after a student from Hope County who has since, by the way, graduated from college. In June, Lee approved a 7-year plan agreed to by Roy Cooper's Board of Education, State Board of Education, his administration, and plaintiffs who said they wanted more money. The $5.6 billion plan includes things such as a 5% pay increase for teachers. Well, Phil Berger points out that, listen, all these complainers, they keep pointing to data that is years old. I mean, they're going back 10, 15 years on this data. The National Education Association, their numbers say that the North Carolina per pupil expenditures is up 33% since 2010. That's identical to national increases. Last year's 7.07 increase was the 8th largest in the country. It would have been higher, but Roy Cooper vetoed the teachers' tax pay increase. This is bizarre.
It's funny. The Democrats always point to old information when it comes to per pupil funding. I see it all the time. You see the numbers that they quote, and it's like, there's no way that's right. I just looked at the budget, and you see that it's old data.
Right.
Back when they were in power in the state. But, Judge Lee, he was elected in 2010. I was thinking he was appointed for some reason. I thought he was appointed to someone's, elected term.
Now, I think he might have been appointed to this case.
I think that's what it is.
Anyway, I mean, he's a prop for Cooper and for progressives. And you see it all the time. Now, what's interesting is if a conservative judge tries to actually follow the Constitution, they call it judicial activism.
Mm-hmm.
But if a liberal judge just makes it out of thin air, whole cloth, that's watching out for the little guy. Speaking of spending money, this is cut 2, Clark. Jan Psaki was speaking to reporters at the White House earlier today. And as you know, the Biden 3.5 boondoggle is talking about hiring 85,000 more IRS agents, and they are hiring them to basically nickel and dime you to death, even to the point that they want to monitor all bank transactions of $600 or more. Now, this is what she said when she was asked about, okay, there's been a lot of pushback on this. A lot of the banks don't like this, and a lot of the individual Americans don't like this.
It should not be lost on anyone that the loudest opposition to these proposals and the biggest ad spending against them is from the biggest banks who simply do not want to be bothered by additional reporting on inflows and outflows. That should not be lost. We can certainly get you the numbers, or it's publicly available out there, on how much money is being spent and how vocal this opposition is. I would note that the top 1% is responsible for $163 billion a year in owed but unpaid taxes. So this proposal we're talking about is about preventing high-income individuals who are not typical wage earners, meaning they don't get paid through standard payroll, W-2s. The vast, vast majority, I think it's something like 97% of wage earners, are paying the taxes they owe. We're not talking about that here. We're talking about the highest income individuals, 1%, who are responsible for $163 billion a year in owed but unpaid taxes. There are discussions, active discussions, I would note, with Senator Wyden and others in Congress about how to ensure this is absolutely targeted at those who evade tax obligations, including on the cap and potential exemptions. But let's be clear what this is about. It's about big banks deciding to protect wealthiest Americans that get away with not paying the taxes they owe by fighting this common sense solution, and we want to be clear about that.
Oh, that's real clear.
She just read that prepared written statement in front of her.
But listen, you can't have it both ways. Don't tell us that 97% of us are paying our taxes just fine, but yet you've got to hire 85,000 new tax agents for the IRS for 1% of the people who are cheating.
And this $163 billion of unpaid taxes that she referenced is being done $600 at a time. I'm calling BS on that. Well, I think it's more than that. I think it's just monitoring what everyone is doing.
Course.
It's just control.
Authoritarianism.
That's the
theme.
Yeah, and it's trying to. The small banks, just like Dodd-Frank in the last financial crisis that was passed to monitor banks in so many different ways, the small banks had problems complying. A lot of the small banks went out of business.
Well, and is that what they want there?
I think that's what it is. I think
are the big banks actually, even though she says they're against it, are they pushing it to squeeze out the small banks?
Well, just from the economic principle of economies of scale, they got more economies of scale. If they've got to comply with some new burdensome law, they can comply with it a lot better than a small bank, community bank can. And if they narrow it down to there's only 4 or 5 banks left, then there's only 4 or 5 oligarchs that can control everything.
There you go.
But
we're told the $3.5 trillion Biden boondoggle won't cost us anything. It's a freebie, because he is going to make sure that the people that aren't paying their fair share starts to pay their fair share. So, and she just said, what did it amount to? What did the cheaters, if they can get the cheaters, the top 3% of cheaters, or 1% of cheaters, I guess she said, it's going to amount to $165 billion. Okay. When you think of a trillion, if you had a $1 billion bill, you print up a bill that's worth, instead of $1 or $10, it's worth $1 billion. You would have to print up 1,000 of those to get to a trillion. 1,000 billion-dollar bills, right? Mm-hmm. You're an accountant.
And a billion's 1,000 million.
Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So we've got to come up with 3,500 billion-dollar bills. But she says, but we're going to get this 165 billion out of the cheaters, and everything's going to be fine.
Well, here would have been a good question from the White House press pool if they would have just done a little bit of research. I mean, I admit I probably have above average knowledge than someone in the press, but hey, it's something called Google. I mean, White House press could Google this. Currently, there's a rule in place that if a cash transaction occurs $10,000 or more, the bank has to report that to the IRS.
Right. Which is probably unconstitutional anyway.
And that's been in place for, my goodness, I know,
a long time.
Probably 30 years at least, 30-plus years that I've been in the business. But why don't they ask that valid question? Okay, if $10,000 is okay before, how about let's just say $10,000 for any transaction?
It's already there.
Yeah, it's already there. $10,000. You cannot tell me that you're concerned about $600 transactions, $600 at a time for $163 billion unpaid taxes.
No way. Last week, Nancy Pelosi confirmed the proposal is still on the table. Democrats plan to keep it in, which is fine. Keep it in because that's just another thing, another reason to vote against it. But according to the IRS Taxpayer Bill of Rights, taxpayers have the right to privacy. I'm reading from their Bill of Rights, the IRS publication. Your rights as a taxpayer includes a full list of taxpayer rights. It includes the right to privacy. Taxpayers have a right to expect that the IRS inquiry, examination, or enforcement actions will comply with the law and be no more intrusive than necessary. It will respect all due process rights, including search and seizure protections, and will provide, where applicable, a collection due process hearing. This according to the IRS.gov. Now, I'm not sure that's all being followed currently, but which basically Nancy Pelosi, Joe Biden, Chucky Schumer are basically saying, flush that down the toilet. Screw the American pet taxpayer.
It's all about monitoring people. That's what it is. It's a privacy issue.
When we get back, journalism, we know it's dead, now is confirmed to be dead. They admit it and they gloat in it. I'll tell you why.
And we're on location at one of my favorite places in the whole planet because this is some of the best food you're ever going to eat in your life. We are at Nino's on Red Banks Road in Greenville. It's one of my hangouts. It's one of the places that I love. I got my friend Pietro Pasalacqua. How'd I do?
You did great.
Let's talk about the food. What makes this place? I know it's special Italian from authentic Italians, but tell us why it's so special.
Because everything we do, it's really what we came up on the menu from what we did at home, from my grandparents, my parents. So it's exactly what we eat at home, and that's the way we cook. That's why it's special.
And the atmosphere in this place is special also. From the bar to the two dining areas. You got two different dining areas, and now the weather's nice, so there's going to be a lot of folks that want to eat outside.
Yeah, we have two rooms. One room is designed a little different. We're also working on the patio to make it more attractive and more useful in the summer with a cocktail service. And we're always improving our services.
And, of course, my friends here, my buddy, Chef Massimo, who I love, and Sal and Pietro, you guys do a great job here. Not just Italian, but I had a great pork chop here the other night. You got great steaks, too.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we're also adding filet mignon in the future on our menu. And Massimo is coming out with a really good side dishes for it. And so we're really excited to come out with new meats and fish dishes.
All right, Nino's on Red Banks Road in Greenville. Same people that give you Marabello's and the great pizza that you get at Marabello's, but this is fine dining at Nino's. If you haven't been here, you don't know what you're missing. come see him at Nino's on Red Banks Road. And Pietro, what is that famous saying about Nino's?
The food that you enjoy with people that you love.
Hi, I'm Richard Langley, and after helping my grandmother with an iPad she received as a gift, I realized how many other older adults may also have challenges with their own technology.
Happy Grandma specializes in helping with any tech issue you may be experiencing. Whether it's setting up a new computer or TV, having issues with the printer or Wi-Fi, or showing you how to use your tech, we want to help you. To make it easier, we come directly to you with a smile on our face.
When tech gets tough.
When tech gets tough.
When tech gets tough.
When tech gets tough, get happy.
Happy Grandma Senior Tech Support.
Living easy is the sound of children laughing as you make memories with neighbors and friends. It's the sound of nothing at all. It's the smell of the salt air. Hear the waters against the marsh grass.
This is your Drive at 5 and ENC with Tom Lamprecht. Welcome back to News and Views on Talk 96.3 and 103.7.
You know, we have known for some time that the mainstream media says what we want to say, and they lie, and they leave out the details, they leave out the truth. But boy, this weekend, it has really hit the fan, I guess in a good way. You know, every now and then, even a liberal accidentally speaks the truth. And there was a couple of situations out this weekend. One was a column written by a Los Angeles Times columnist, Jackie Combs. She published a piece called "Why Journalists Are Failing the Public with Both Siderism in Political Coverage." Now, basically what she said was, we have no obligation as journalists to cover both sides of the story. She said, to the extent, then, that journalists and pundits focus critically on President Biden and Democrats and give short shift to Republicans' obstructions, as if the cancer of Trumpism was in remission, if not cured, that indeed distorts the reality and disserves readers and listeners and viewers, Combs writes. Combs repeatedly criticized Republicans, warning that democracy is literally at stake surrounding the GOP's recent election laws. Wait a minute. The GOP wants to keep election integrity. Mm-hmm. It's the Democrats with their H.R. 1 that wants to basically federalize against the Constitution of our country, wants to federalize all elections, and yet she is complaining that the Republicans, with their new election laws, are trying to ruin our democracy. Quote, she goes on to say, this is a Republican Party that is not serious about governing or addressing the nation's actual problems, as opposed to fake ones like the critical race theory, Combs writes. She concluded her op-ed writing, Democrats can't be expected to deal with these guys like they're on the level, nor should journalists cover them as if they are. And what's unbelievable is you would think that there would be some journalists out there that would say, wait a minute, if we're going to be real journalists, we do have to cover both sides of the issue. But no, they all just fell in line and just applauded and said, that's great. Even NPR, that's funded with taxpayer funding, Bill Buzenberg, that's a great name for somebody at NPR, wrote great op-ed. Great op-ed. We need to make sure we follow this.
And the problem is, you know, most in the media, I mean, they just live in an echo chamber.
Yep.
And they just listen to each other with the same BS all the time, same storyline, same one-sided story. And you would think that they would, at least, you know, they shouldn't be thinking about ratings. They should be thinking about journalistic integrity.
And let the ratings come.
But the ratings are terrible.
Yes.
I mean,
they must not care about making a buck.
But people are tuning out the news. All of people that are conservatives and liberals are just tuning it out because it cannot be trusted anymore. It's not Walter Cronkite anymore. And
at least you think that her comment is an outlier.
No, it's the norm.
No. Lester Holt earlier this year claimed that, quote, fairness is overrated in journalism. I think it has become clear that fairness is overrated. The idea that we should always give two sides equal rate and merit does not reflect the world we find ourselves in. Well, listen, Holt, that hasn't happened for decades anyway.
Well,
so what else is new?
Well, for decades now, at least in the last 30 years, certainly the last 15 or 20 years, the coverage of the story in their mind is more important than the story, and more important than getting it right.
Well, and they're more important than the people in the story.
And now with all the platforms that are out there, you got to be first. You got to be first. You got to be first. It's clicks, and they're not doing any research. I mean, they're just like the conclusions that were jumped on. Joe Rogan? Rogan last week or week before last.
About him taking
horse dewormer and stuff. I mean,
Barry Weiss, remember her? She was the one that resigned from the New York Times because she was basically being. The woke mob was basically alienating her, and
she'd had enough.
She's had enough, and anyway, she was on with Costanza. over the weekend.
Brian Stelter. Yeah, it looks like George Costanza.
And here's what she had to say about the woke mob and journalism.
You write, there are tens of millions of Americans who aren't on the hard left or the hard right who feel the world has gone mad. So in what ways has the world gone mad?
Well, when you have the chief reporter on the beat of COVID for the New York Times talking about how questioning or pursuing the question of the lab leak is racist, the world has gone mad. When you're not able to say out loud and in public that there are differences between men and women, the world has gone mad. When we're not allowed to acknowledge that rioting is rioting and it is bad, and that silence is not violence, but violence is violence, the world has gone mad. When we're not able to say that Hunter Biden's laptop is a story worth pursuing, the world has gone mad. When, in the name of progress, young school children, as young as kindergarten, are being separated in public schools because of their race, and that is called progress rather than segregation, the world has gone mad. There are dozens of examples that I could share with you and with your viewers.
And you say
everyone
allowed.
Sort of knows this, and
you say we're not allowed, we're not able.
between-
Who's the people stopping the conversation? Who are they?
People that work at networks, frankly, like the one I'm speaking on right now, who try and claim that it was racist to investigate the lab leak theory.
Yeah,
I don't think Stelter was prepared for that answer.
No. Yeah, interestingly, he just sits there with that goofy grin and just nodding his head. And but boy, she hit the nail on the head.
How does he have a job? He's got pictures of someone at CNN. No, he does.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
That means your trade value has never been hotter. Get to Greenville Toyota now. We'll pay more for your trade than ever before. Get cash on the spot, even if you don't buy from us. At Greenville Toyota, where our volume saves you money.
Air service is back at Pitt Greenville Airport, offering safe, clean facilities and flights from American Airlines. That means the short commute, quicker lines, and better prices that get you where you're going fast and easy. See it for yourself. There's great things inside at Pitt Greenville Airport.
Sawyer's Fun Park in Winterville is now open. With over 40,000 square feet of family fun, daily money-saving deals, and a full-service restaurant, Sawyer's Fun Park is guaranteed to have something the whole family will love. Test your ninja skills on our 2-story obstacle course or head over to one of our 5 rock walls and race your friends to the top. And when you've worked up an appetite in our laser tag arena or our one-of-a-kind ropes course, grab a table over at the restaurant and try our world-famous Southern Monster Fries. Reserve your spot today at SawyersFunPark.com and come join in on the fun.
My name is Dr. Neeti Armistead, Chief Medical Officer for Vidant Health. The following simple steps will help keep you and your community safe. Stay home as much as possible, wear a mask when out in public, avoid large gatherings, practice social distancing, and wash hands often. It's also important not to delay needed care. Vidant has taken important steps to provide you and your family with a safe environment. Learn more about COVID-19 and Vidant's response. Call 252-847-8000 or visit vidanthealth.com/COVID-19.
Acre Station Meat Farm, along with Lane Angus Beef, bring you Farm to Fork Beef.
Stock your freezers now with affordable beef boxes, just in time for the grilling season.
Farm to Fork Beef brings quality local beef to your family. From your traditional butcher shop, Acre Station Meat Farm. Come on down to Acre Station Meat Farm and find out why we're #1 in fresh cuts and friendly service.
Acre Station Meat Farm, Highway 32 North, Pinetown.
Air Service is back at Pitt Greenville Airport, offering safe, clean facilities and flights from American Airlines. That means the short commute, quicker lines, and better prices that get you where you're going fast and easy. See it for yourself. There's great things inside at Pitt Greenville Airport.
Back to news and views. Talk 96.3 and 103.7.
So we've been talking about what's been going on up in Loudoun County, and the Scott Smith, whose daughter was raped, he was arrested. And what's interesting is Buddha Barbiage, that was the attorney general there, or I'm sorry, the Loudoun County prosecutor. Yeah, Loudoun County prosecutor. This person wanted to, the person was arrested, and a number of people thought, well, the Scott Smith's going to get in the court and they're going to dismiss all charges. We understand why you're upset your child got raped. But this Loudoun County prosecutor said, no, we're prosecuting. We're going after this individual. What's the interesting part about this story is the rest of the story. Yes, indeed, George Soros funded this individual's run as the Loudoun County prosecutor to the tune of over $800,000.
Another DA in America.
Yeah,
that he's funding.
Now, he also funded the DA up in Chicago that's involved in the Jussie Smollett case.
And the St. Louis one with the couple with the.
Hey, we got to run. We'll do it again tomorrow. We'll see you then. Bye-bye, everybody.
All right.
We're on location at Fabric and Home Furnishings, and I'm back with my friend Lisa Pendry. And Lisa's been telling me about all the great renovations that have been going on here in the store, and I've been looking around, and it looks fantastic. Tell us what you've done here.
Well, we've knocked some walls down, we've painted, we've added some new vendors, lots of new exciting things going on. So we're making room for everybody to get what they need to transform their homes.
Looks fantastic in here. Last time we talked, you were saying that you were able to deliver a lot faster than most other furniture stores. Is that still the case?
It is. It's changed a little bit, but we're still looking at around 8 to 10 week delivery, and we do sell our floor samples right off the floor.
All right, we always say that Fabric and Home Furnishings is more than just a fabric store, so tell us what the more is all about. What when people come in, what should they expect?
Well, we love to get to know our customers. I have the best crew I've ever had, and everybody on my team is an interior designer. So we offer in-home design service, which we always have, but now they can each come out to your home after they work with you in here, figure out what's going on in your residence or your commercial property to pull it together and help you make everything beautiful.
You got great folks here.
I do.
I can tell you, I haven't gotten to know them. It's like a family when you come in here, and everybody gets along well, and you can tell that these guys and gals really know what they're talking about when it comes to interior design.
They do, and that's really what makes us different. We offer complete in-home design service. We don't charge a by-the-hour fee. It's a flat one-time fee. We work with you in here, in your home, in your business, and help pull everything together.
All right, it's more than just a fabric store. Fabric and Home Furnishings in Arlington Village. Come see this lady. She's fantastic. Fabric and Home Furnishings. Come see the renovations here in Arlington Village. And thank you for the visit today.
Thank you, Henry.
All right, you got to come see what they've done in the store here on Arlington Boulevard in Arlington Village.